one of the lead student organizers of the March for Our Lives San Francisco. First of all, we'd like to thank everyone for being out here today. Give yourselves a round of applause. Whether you're a parent, student, teacher, or just a concerned citizen, showing up today is a big step in the right direction toward ending gun violence in this country. When I was in elementary school, my school had a code for lockdown drills. Someone would go over the loudspeaker and say something like, "Would Mr. X please report to the office?" And I could never remember what Mr. X's real name was. And I was always worried that should an active shooter actually come, I wouldn't know, and I wouldn't know to go into lockdown. To this day, I'm terrified of movie theaters. Whenever I see a backpack or a light, my first thought is always that it's a gun. And this is the reality of being a part of my generation. It shouldn't be like this. Kids should not be afraid to go to the movies or to concerts with their friends. They shouldn't be afraid to walk down their own streets, and they shouldn't be afraid of being shot in their schools. Kids should not be afraid to be kids. Ultimately, the only way to end this is for lawmakers to pass common sense gun control. To any lawmakers that are against us, I would ask you to go home to your kids and ask them if they've ever done an active shooter drill. And if you're able to sit idly by as they tell you how they've rehearsed for their deaths, then you're not doing your job. You're not doing your job as a lawmaker, you're not doing your job as a citizen, and you're not doing your job as a parent. It is this inability to push for common sense gun control that forces us to be here. We shouldn't have to be here today. But when the government doesn't do their job, we're here to show them that we don't want to sit by anymore. We're here to show them that we are sick and tired of constantly being afraid of guns, and that we won't stop fighting until they're no longer a threat. We've got a great program for you guys today. You'll get to hear a variety of perspectives from people from all over the Bay Area. And when our speaker program is finished, we will all march together. We're so excited that you're all here. We can't wait to keep the momentum going. Thank you.
Grown up with school shootings, but we are the generation that will stop them. Yes, we are children and teenagers, but we refuse to be passive witnesses of history. We are change makers, and we won't sit and wait until we are old enough to vote. That is why we are here today. We are motivated, we are ready, and we can make a difference. For all of the politicians and lawmakers out there, know this. We are coming. Our generation has lived through this all, and soon we will vote. We want politicians to know that we will not be afraid to vote them out if they choose their own interests over our safety. Our opinions matter, and if they refuse to listen now, you can bet they'll be listening this November as thousands of new 18-year-olds eagerly cast their first votes. Our generation is adding about 350,000 new 18-year-olds to the voting population every month. So our voices will only grow louder in 2020 as the 16-year-olds here today join in. They will only grow even louder in 2022 and 2024 when middle schoolers like us will elect representatives who recognize that we are the future. We are here and we are not going away. To our generation, your presence here today is an important step in this movement. History has its eyes on us, so we cannot stop here. Continue with us on this path towards change. This is your safety, this is your life, and this is your country. Starting today, you can take action. If you're old enough to vote, make sure you register to do so. But for those of us who are not yet old enough to vote, you can still raise your voice and you can still let your amazing voice be heard. Call or write a letter to your representatives and contact them via social media. Even if your representatives are pro-gun control, like Senators Dianne Feinstein and Kamala Harris, you can still write a letter to them with your consent and tell them you or your parents will vote for them. Support companies and stores who are pro-gun control and boycott those who are not. Learn all you can about gun control and the current laws in place. Talk with your parents about your views. Talk about gun control with others. If we are old enough to prepare for a mass shooting by doing lockdown drills, then aren't we old enough to talk about guns and the issues surrounding them? Talk to your parents about where they spend their money and how they are going to vote. Talk to your parents if they own a gun. When you go to a friend's house, ask if there's a gun in that house. Ask if they've ever talked with their parents about guns and gun control. Get your school and your surrounding community involved and spread the word. Persist. Change will not come easy, but it will be worth the effort. So join us and make a change. And in the hopeful words of Winston Churchill, who led another great generation, hear this, young men and women everywhere, and proclaim it far and wide. The earth is yours and the fullness thereof. Be kind, but be fierce. You are needed now more than ever before. Take up the mantle of change, for this is your time. Thank you.
Isn't our future bright? I want you to join me and Charlotte and Dylan in welcoming our biggest supporter in Washington, D.C., who has been fighting the fight for decades, for San Francisco, for our state of California, for our country, for our children. Ladies and gentlemen, the former mayor of the city of San Francisco and our senior U.S. Senator, please welcome Dianne Feinstein.
I came home last night, turned on the television this morning, and saw a new America. It was a young America. It was a step out and up America. It was an America that said, we have had enough and never again. So, I say to this America out here, we can change this. There is a bill in the Judiciary Committee to ban assault weapons with 30 co-sponsors. It is the third bill that we have written. Here's the problem. The problem is the gun industry. They will go out and they will support mightily people in other states and small states that will refuse to do this. Here's what I'm asking you to do. If you want a new America, if we want a one-family America, we cannot do it through guns. I thought after Sandy Hook, where 26 and 7-year-olds and 6 staff were slain, this would never happen again. It has happened more than 200 times in 5 years. There is a school shooting almost every month. Even after the last Florida shooting, the following week, there was a school shooting in Maryland. Is this the America that we want our children to grow up in? Can we make a better America by getting military weapons of war off of the streets and out of the schools? Will you help me do that? Will you march? Will you register? Will you see that people vote and see that you vote and your friends vote for those that would rid this country of guns? Thank you very much. And now, I I want you to make very comfortable a great young man who is nervous. You see, you're an intimidating crowd. His name is Ibrahim Chaudhry. He's 21. He is the head of one of the gun control groups at San Francisco State. Ibrahim Chaudhry, you are welcome. Come forward. Say it like you are.
Hello, San Francisco. My name is Ibrahim. I am a student at San Francisco State and president of the chapter at my school for the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence. I came to America back in 2016 from Pakistan, and I immediately fell in love with this country and its people. I had always known about the gun problems that America faces, and this past 1.5 years of being directly exposed to news of massacres one after the other really shook me, to a point where after the Stonesman Douglas shooting, I jumped on board the movement started by the amazing students at MSD and started a chapter at my school, and we walked. Growing up, school for me was always a place that I felt safe at. School was supposed to be a home away from home. Emergency, active, shooter drills were never supposed to be part of the school experience. I stand here today to tell every student out there who sits in the classroom with scenarios of active shooter situation running through their heads, you are not alone. I stand here today to vocalize my feelings about a debate that on one side has students, parents, victims who are demanding a sense of security, and on the other side has people who very easily have chosen a human killing machine over the future of America. BS indeed. Circumstances have forced us to take to the streets to demand that our right to live be given some consideration. That parents think twice before sending their kids to school in the morning. And students keep asking themselves these questions: will it be us today? Dreamers can dream if their minds are engulfed by fear. And let my voice echo what is in the hearts of all those who can relate out there. Enough is enough! Enough is enough! Parkland, Las Vegas, Sutherland Springs. I mean, the list is never ending, and this just keeps happening in our country and nowhere else. We are at a place where we have had enough, and we won't back down until these massacres are a thing of the past. And this is not just about the mass shootings. This is about the daily toll of gun violence. The 96 people who are shot and killed every single day who never make it to the news. This is about those women who get shot and killed by their domestic partners because no one stopped them from having a gun. This is about those innocent lives that have been victim of the improper and unwarranted use of guns by law enforcement. Black Lives Matter! We're fighting for all of them. It's up to us now to keep this momentum going, to go out and vote come November, to get involved with organizations that are working tirelessly on this agenda to push through bills and legislature that will ensure a safer America.
Sorry.
I sincerely believe that we, the people, together can make changes that last forever. Thank you, SF. Thank you. Peace out.
Good afternoon, San Francisco. Thank you for marching for our lives. I am an alumnus of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, and now a resident of this beautiful city by the bay.
My name is Aya Abraham, and I'm a current freshman at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Today, I'm not going to talk about what it's like to have your home hit. Instead, I want to talk about the legacy of the hometown that takes a stand.
Our school is named for the writer and activist, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, famous for fighting for the environment, among many other causes, until her dying day at 108 years old. She has a quote some of you may have heard by now.
Be a nuisance where it counts. Do your part to inform and stimulate the public to join your action. Be depressed, discouraged, and disappointed at failure and the disheartening effects of ignorance, greed, corruption, and bad politics, but never give up.
For Douglas, who was said to have a tongue like a switchblade and the moral authority to embarrass bureaucrats and politicians, activism was an urgent call to devote every fiber of her being to her causes.
And today, the students from the school dedicated to her legacy carry her torch into the future, rallying the nations at their sides. Today, across the country, we witness a new breed of activists, born of absolute necessity, answering the same urgent call to devote every fiber of their beings to this cause.
This is Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And now the students that carry her name. We are the Echoes from Parkland, Florida. And now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce one of today's young activists, born of absolute necessity. Justin Walton, known as Jay Walt, is a 16-year-old rapper and poet from Oakland. He started writing poetry at 9 years old, and he's only taken off from there. From opening for T-Pain, to rapping on Sway's Doomsday Cypher on Sirius XM, to traveling to Ghana to spread his message of peace and positivity through poetry. He has a moving piece for us today on the horrors of gun violence and what we can do about it. San Francisco, this is Jay Walt.
I wonder if I am next. Will I be a falling soldier? You see, my pops telling me to grow up, I'm getting older. Mom's always worried when I'm stepping outside. I guess it's because I'm black, that's what don't want me alive. You see, the system's hella messed up. They wanted us to fail. They wanted us in jail, they rather have us in hell, so I'ma prove them wrong. I try to write these freedom songs just to make y'all sing along. But y'all ain't singing them back. But I bet some people would if I was making some trap. But I bet some people would if I was like money this or money that. Man, shut the hell up, yo, that was never rap. Let's take it back to them glory days. Well, never mind, my people never had no glory days. We used to be chained, never wearing chains. Used to be slaves and we still slaves to this day. They used to kill my people and they still kill my people. 100 years later and we still ain't equal. Another cop shooting, but where they get put on trial? Another cop shooting, I don't know who to dial. Like 911 is an emergency, but please don't murder me. I said 911 is an emergency, don't murder me. They think I'm just another statistic where you ain't hurting me. Cause ain't shit changed for the white man's money. That's why I'm praying for the better days and searching for this glory. I said they shooting my people, they killing my people, and it's just another sequel of a movie called Life that's never getting old. You see another brother killed is another story never told. I swear they took a life too soon. And now a brother from my mother won't see another moon. And the mothers keep on crying because they took their son too. His body's been in the street for like an hour or two. And we don't know how it feels until it happens to you. Blah. That's why we all gotta stand up. All gotta make a change, all keep our hands up. All gotta come together, do what's right. It don't matter if you're black, Asian or white, cause we got people getting killed, and that ain't right. I swear it's like a bad dream, cause I can't sleep at night. And yes, I'm sick of having dreams my people covered in glory. That's why I'm praying for the better days and searching for this glory. Black Lives Matter.
Hey, San Francisco! My name's Briar, and by now you all know how these survivor stories go, because a lot of them are the same. Goes like this. It was, fill in the number of years ago. I was, fill in the activity, when gunmen walked in and killed, fill in the body count. So here's mine. 19 years ago, I was a junior at Columbine, when 2 gunmen walked in and killed 12 of my classmates and 1 of our teachers. A few minutes after the shooting started, I found myself in a small teacher's office with 60 other kids. We barricaded the door and we waited until the shots stopped. I don't know how long it took, but we waited for an additional 4 hours after that for the SWAT team to come and get us out. They walked us single file through the battleground that had become the school, outside to waiting police cars that drove us 5 at a time, 50 miles an hour, across the baseball field to the safe zone where our parents were waiting to pick us up. This is the first time I've told my story in a public setting like this. Not because, thank you. Not because I couldn't or I didn't want to, but because back then at least it didn't feel necessary. Because back then, a mass shooting seemed like a fluke, like a one-off event. Columbine wasn't the first, but I just assumed that because we were kids, whatever needed to get done so it wouldn't happen again would just get done. But of course, here we are. I called my congressional representative for the first time after Virginia Tech, and I have called after every mass shooting since. Gun control donation after Sandy Hook, and I have donated after every mass shooting since. But that's it. That's it. That's my pattern. That is the extent of my autopilot advocacy. I call, I donate, I hope, I forget, I repeat. Yes. Every single time there is another mass shooting, there's always 4 or 5 Facebook posts that make their way around that state the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Now those posts are meant to be a jab at Congress, but I saw them this time and I thought, oh my God, that's me. I had called the day after the shooting in Florida. I donated 2 days later. This time I just skipped right over hope, because after Sutherland Springs and Las Vegas and now another school, I had all but resigned to the narrative that this is the new normal. Yeah. But then, the kids from Parkland started speaking out. And I gotta tell you, for the first time for me, and I follow this stuff religiously, for the first time for me, something felt different. But I knew that I needed to change my own strategies if I was going to join their revolution. So I want to tell you what I did, and I want to ask that you all join me, because the plan I'm about to share with you only works if we all do it together. Are you ready? Yeah. I need all of us to pull our money out of the gun industry. Yeah. Now before you applaud, I know that there's some of you that are thinking, I don't have money in the gun industry. But you need to check your investments and you need to check your retirement accounts. There are 3 publicly traded gun manufacturers in the United States. They are Strum Ruger and Company. The ticker symbol is RGR. Vista Outdoor, ticker symbol VSTO. And American Outdoor Brands, ticker symbol AOBC. Stocks in these companies are hidden in all kinds of retirement plans and mutual funds, which means you may unknowingly own a part of the gun industry. If you think this can't be you, think again. About a week after the shooting in Florida, my husband and I sat down to check our own investments. I had only been at it for 10 minutes when I found the first one. There it was, hidden under 100 other stocks in a mutual fund. I couldn't believe it, because here I am, a Columbine survivor who 19 years ago literally had to jump over the bodies of my fallen classmates to get to that police car. I am a Columbine survivor who calls and donates religiously, and I am a Columbine survivor who, until 3 weeks ago, was a partial owner in the very company that makes AR-15 style assault rifles. You know, we know for a long time now that every time there's a mass shooting, gun sales in this country go way up. Which means, because I was a partial owner, not only was I enabling these mass shootings, I was personally profiting after every single one. And that makes me sick to my stomach. So, needless to say, after one really easy phone call to our financial advisor, our money was moved. It was as simple as that. Now look, I'm not crazy. I know that I am one person, and I know that my little retirement account isn't going to do anything. But there are 25,000 of us here right now. Maybe more. And we all showed up today because we want to do something, anything we can, to make sure that our loved ones come home at the end of the day. And we have friends, and we have friends of friends who want to make sure that their loved ones come home too. So imagine the impact that we could have if we all pulled our money out of the gun industry. You don't have to work in finance to know that an action like that, an action that directly hits the bottom line, does not go ignored. Now you know who else I'm guessing wants their friends and their families to come home too? The executives and the fund managers at Vanguard and BlackRock and Capital Groups. These firms are all top shareholders in those same gun companies. If any of you are here today, if any of you are listening, please join us. There is a right side of history to be on, and you have the choice to divest. So in preparation for getting ready for today and deciding what I wanted to talk to you all about, I spent some time on the NRA's website, just to see. And it's fascinating because it's full of language about freedom and patriotism. Well, I can think of nothing more patriotic than the power of a group of people using the free market to put an end to this madness once and for all. Today we march, and that's great. But tomorrow, let's put our money where our mouths are, and let's do it together. Enough is enough. So excited to introduce you all to our next speaker. Jeremy Yoon is a 15-year-old freshman at Menlo High School, and he's a musician, but he's a special kind of musician because his band is a social change band, which means that they donate all of their proceeds to social good causes. It's amazing. And he's here to give us a unique perspective on this that I think only a musician can. Everybody, Jeremy Yoon!
Good afternoon, San Francisco. My name is Jeremy. I'm a high school freshman and a musician who plays guitar for the band WJM. I'm the kind of musician who plays by ear. I play by listening because I've found that being open to the contributions of other musicians leads to the most powerful music. What I'm hearing now, and what I've been hearing, is the need for harmony. I'm hearing the need to make space for common ground. I'm hearing the need to talk not just about our rights, but also our responsibilities. Today is about us, all of us, everyone who's a part of our society and what we can do together. It's about our responsibility to one another as humans who all ultimately want the same things: peace and hope. It's about the social responsibilities we share and not the hate that divides we and us into they and them. Whenever I think about what we can do to solve big problems, the first thing I do is turn a they statement into an I statement. That's how I shift from thinking something like, they are not doing enough to bring peace to our society, to I am going to do my part to bring peace to our society. Sometimes, when the media talks about our generation, the language used isn't positive. The focus is on all the things we supposedly can't do. Things like, we don't know how to handle disappointment, we don't know how to do things for ourselves, and we're too dependent on technology. I believe otherwise. I know our generation can do all of these things and more. I know that we can turn our disappointments into a force for positive change. I know that we can figure out new ways to do things, not just for ourselves, but for others too. And I know that our generation knows better than any other how to use technology to make our society a more peaceful and more harmonious place. I believe
the devastation caused by gun violence here in this country. From my perspective, there is no greater public health crisis that we face in this country today. It has to change, and it will not change until we change it. And that's what we are doing here today. It is my true pleasure to introduce Derek Bonilla. Derek is 16 years old. The idea of being up here at 16 is just phenomenal to me. Derek grew up here in San Francisco. He goes to Mission High School where he is a junior, and he's going to talk to us today about the phenomenal idea of going to school without fear of gun violence. Please welcome Derek Bonilla.
How y'all doing today? Like he said, my name is Derek, King Derek, and I'm gonna talk to y'all right quick. I'm a part of a violence prevention program called United Players. This Uncle Rudy, this Uncle Freddie. Gun violence has affected many of our lives, especially those whose loved ones have been taken by it. Where I'm from, I've seen people get shot and killed right in front of my house. I've seen it happen so much that I'm sick and tired of it. Gun violence happens so much that in just this year, there have been over 17 school shootings in America, and that's not right. School is supposed to be a place where we learn and can be safe. We shouldn't have to worry about our safety in school because our main focus should be to learn, not to watch our backs and worry about if the school is going to get shot up or not. Enough is enough. All this needs to come to an end, and that's why I'm here standing for justice. We can't be silent and wait for something to happen to someone in your family or someone you love or someone you care about. Youth all over the country are all uniting together to stop senseless gun violence. We're uniting together because we are the leaders of this movement. Just because we're young doesn't mean we don't understand what's happening. It doesn't mean we don't know how serious this issue is. I'm here today taking a stand to end senseless gun violence because all it takes is one grain of sand to move the earth. I'm King Derek and I'm out.
Hi everybody, my name is London Breed and I'm the president of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. This is an absolutely beautiful crowd and we are here for one reason and one reason only, to make sure that the people in Washington, D.C. know that we are not going to be quiet. When I was 12, sadly, in my neighborhood, that's when I saw the first incident of gun violence happen. My friend Stacy was shot and killed. And sadly, too often, young people are in neighborhoods and schools impacted by violence because of guns, impacted by violence because lawmakers won't make the hard decisions that are necessary to change things for the better. And today, young people all over this country are saying no more. Young people all over this country are standing up to make sure that the grown-ups in D.C. are listening to their voices. Young people, they should feel safe in their homes. They should feel safe in their schools, in the classrooms where they learn every single day. And I am excited to be here, and I'm just grateful for the next generation of young people who are going to take over the world and make sure that policymakers are held accountable. So I have the honor today of introducing our next speaker. She just turned 18 and she registered to vote already. She was born in the Mission and is living in the Bayview Hunters Point. Simone Powell refuses to let her circumstances determine who she becomes in life. She's a fighter. She goes to SOTA. She's going to rock your world. Ladies and gentlemen, Simone Powell!
Hi, I'm Simone. I'm a senior at Ruth Asawa School of the Arts, and I currently live in the Bayview. The first time I experienced gun violence was when I was 8 years old. But the one that infected me the most was when I was 13. I was walking my two little sisters home from school when we got half a block away from my house. Someone pulled the gun out and started having a shootout in front of us. I pulled my sisters to the ground as shots rang around us. We were lying in the dirt for what felt like forever. I could hear my sisters screaming and crying, and all I could do was focus on keeping them alive. After about 10 more shots, it finally stopped. The shooters ran off. We were left in the streets. We ran home, locked all the doors, and only then did we know we were safe. And the entire time we were on the ground, dirty, crying, and afraid, I felt like I had to also keep my sisters safe. They weren't even in the 4th grade yet. They had their entire lives ahead of them. I was 13, but all of a sudden, it did not feel that way anymore. I felt like their lives were my responsibility. But my life didn't even begin yet. After that, we were afraid of going outside, being at the wrong place, at the wrong time, trash cans, fireworks, cars swerving. Really, any kind of loud bang makes me instinctively find a way to protect myself. Before I even realize where the sound is coming from, I think about who is around me, where am I, can I get on the floor fast enough? And then I realize it's only a car door closing. Living with that kind of instinctive fear all the time, every day, really only makes me thankful that I'm even alive. We have now become used to living with that twisted relationship with fear and appreciation. This is not normal. It should not be normal. I should be fearing my college application to NYU and not a loud door closing in my house. Me and my sisters, we're going through what soldiers who come back from war go through. Kids like me who have grown up in low-income communities live like this too. Every time we go outside our homes, we know there's a possibility that we could get shot. When we're waiting at the bus stop, we can't tell the difference between a bullet leaving a gun and the sound of a car backfiring. No child should live with this fear of dying on their own sidewalks. No child in San Francisco should have PTSD from guns the same way soldiers do on the battlefield. I hope my siblings and any other kids never have to go through what I went through. And only you can make that happen. Call your legislators, tell them California needs to do more to get gun off of our streets. To ban assault weapons, to close gun show loopholes, and require background checks for every gun that's sold. Tell them to protect our lives so 13-year-olds don't have to.
Hi, before I tell you who I am or why I'm here, I have a more important announcement. There's a child named Henry who is looking for his parents. If you are looking for Henry, please come behind the stage. Okay. I'm Allison Anderman, and I'm an attorney at the Giffords Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence. And I'm here today to support the amazing youth of our country who refuse to give in to the cynical lie that nothing can be done about gun violence. They are turning their pain into purpose. And the organization I work for started the same way. In 1993, at 101 California, at a law firm, a disgruntled former client used an assault weapon to slaughter 8 people. And that's not far from where we are right now. And 2 years ago, we joined forces with former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, who is also a gun violence survivor. And for the last 25 years, we have been working to improve gun laws at the local, state, and federal levels. As an organization that found its purpose from horrific acts of gun violence, I have a message today for the students who are now so bravely and eloquently leading this national conversation. First, we are sorry that this is now your fight. Yes. Second, thank you. Thank you for using your amazing talents with social media and technology to rally more people to this cause. Thank you for being fearless. Third, you've got this. you, they will try to bully you, they will try to intimidate you. But while they may have Charlton Heston's cold, dead hands, you have the warmth, vitality, and energy that comes with youth. Use it. Keep this momentum going. Stay present and engaged. And as Gabby Giffords always says, be passionate, be courageous, and be your best. Next, I want to introduce you to our inspiring speaker, student speaker. Kai Levinson Cup is a 15-year-old student at Alameda Science and Technology Institute. He was the organizer of the walkout at his school, and he is committed to bringing more people to the polls to make gun violence prevention a voting issue. Please welcome Kai.
Sandy Hook, I was 10. My parents wouldn't let me watch the news, but the adults around me were upset. Our politicians did nothing. Aurora movie theater, I was 11. I begged my friend not to go see The Dark Knight Rises because I worried she would get killed. Our politicians did nothing. Umpqua Community College, I was 12. I feared for my brother, a student at Washington State, and wondered if he was safe. Our politicians did nothing. Pulse nightclub, I was 13. It was the first time I truly understood that my identity as a queer kid in America could lead to my death! Our politicians did nothing! San Bernardino, I was 14. When my mom left for work the next morning, I made sure to say I love you. Our politicians did nothing! Las Vegas, I am 15, and I am used to it. So are our politicians. Nothing happens. Parkland, I am still 15, and I am angry! I am angry that we are being shot in our classrooms. I am angry that kids who should be going to college are instead going to caskets. I am angry that our politicians are doing nothing. How many children must die to protect the Second Amendment? How many children must die to protect an amendment written by men who owned other men as slaves? How many children must die? In 1791, when the Second Amendment was written, guns fired up to 3 shots per minute. Now, guns can fire 45 rounds in a minute. In 60 seconds, 45 lives. We are buying silence with the lives of children! At this point, the only thing that would be truly shocking is change. But I am ready to be shocked. I am ready for change. I am 15. I can raise my voice and fight for universal background checks that are instituted and enforced. When I am 16, high-capacity magazines, bump stocks, silencers, and assault weapons will be banned. When I am 17, the federal gun violence restraining order will be passed. When I am 18, I will vote! When I am 30, I can run for Senate. There will not have been a mass shooting in years. When I am 35, I can run for president. When I say no more silence, you say end gun violence. No more silence! End gun violence! No more silence! End gun violence! No more silence! End gun violence! Thank you, San Francisco.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Kathy Richardson. I'm the lead singer of the legendary San Francisco band Jefferson Starship. Thank you. No, I am not Grace Slick, but this woman right here is Grace Slick and Paul Kantner's daughter, Pastor China Kantner Eisler.
As we stand up here, I'm reminded of another youth movement that took place right here in San Francisco in the 60s.
Yeah. The peace movement. Your parents, my predecessors in the Jefferson Airplane, provided the soundtrack for that entire movement. They played a lot of rallies just like this.
And here we are 50 years later.
Same shit, new assholes.
The Jefferson Starship family is proud to stand with these brave students in our quest for common sense gun regulation.
No kid should have to go to school, to the movies, to a concert, to church, walk down the street worried they're going to get shot with a gun.
No parent should have to drop their kid off at school wondering if they will ever see them alive again because of these weapons that no one needs getting too easily into the hands of hateful extremists intent on inflicting mass casualties.
We are honored to lend our voices and join them in saying,
enough is enough!
All right, and we're really proud and honored to bring on our next presenter, our next speaker. Pastor Michael McBride is a native of San Francisco. He's the pastor of the Way Christian Center in West Berkeley. He's the director of the Live Free campaign with the PICO National Network, who's committed to addressing gun violence and mass incarceration of young people of color. He is a right-on rock star reverend, and like us, he rocks for peace, love, and justice. Everybody give it up for Pastor Michael McBride.
Yo, San Francisco, make some noise. Come on, when I say all power, you say to the people, all power. To the people. All power. To the people. When I say all power, you say to the people, all power. To the people. All power. To the people. Oh yeah, clap it up one time, everybody, one time. Listen, I'm here because I want to remind you that less than 4% of all the gun deaths in our country are a result of mass shootings. This means that in neighborhoods all across the country, we have loved ones, largely black and brown, who are losing their lives because of the proliferation of illegal weapons and because of the radical disinvestment of resources from our communities. I want to remind you that you and I have an obligation not only to just talk about the lives lost in schools, but we also have to talk about the lives that are lost on the way to school, on the way home, in our neighborhoods, urban neighborhoods, every single day. We have an obligation to talk about the lives that are stolen by police violence. I want to remind you that today, while we're marching for our lives here in San Francisco, there are folks in Sacramento marching for the life of Stephon Clark, who was killed, shot at 20 times while he was in his backyard by some police officers. And so all of these problems require all of our response. Somebody say it's our responsibility.
It's our responsibility.
So today I want you to open up your heart as I bring up one of our young comrades who is working every day to be a peacemaker. Say it with me, I am a peacemaker. Say it again, I am a peacemaker. We have strategies that are public health strategies that can reduce gun violence, but we got to scale them up all across the country. We have to not only change policies, but we have to invest in public health strategies that save lives. And so I'm going to bring up one of our young comrades who works with the Urban Peace Movement out in Oakland, California. He represents
Dozens of organizations led by black and brown folks all across this country who wake up every day to make peace in some of our most violent neighborhoods in the country. Come on, y'all, raise your voice for my boy Leo Mercer from the Urban Peace Movement. Holla!
What's up with y'all? How y'all doing? Hey, we packed in San Francisco today. That's what's up. I need more round of applause. Give it up for yourselves for being here for the movement. So, like my man Reverend McBride said, my name is Leo Mercer. I represent Urban Peace Movement. I represent Mercer Brotherhood. I represent Determination Black Men's Group. But that's only 3 of many, many organizations that I represent for the youth and for people of color. So I'm here as a person of color representing just the communities in San Francisco and in Oakland, California and Bay Area across the way. So I appreciate y'all for letting me have a piece of the stage. I want to talk about a couple things. I want to talk about Parkland. I want to talk about Stephon Clark. I want to talk about all of that. You know, but I really want to give my experience and why all of that matters to me. Woo! I'm sorry, I'm dropping tears right now. My bad, my bad. So what I want to talk about is gun control. I never owned a gun in my life, but I've been victimized by guns, and I know people who have been victimized by guns. It's not a great sight. It's very scary. I also know people who are suspects who may have guns and just may not know how to use them, and they need to be taught how to use them so they can be used effectively. But with the situations that just happened within the last few months, we need to be talking about a whole new reform with guns. Because right now, I'm scared to even look at one right now. You know what I mean? I also want to talk about law enforcement and law enforcement taking leadership in an appropriate fashion. Right now, I'm in a fight with Reach Ashland Youth Center in San Leandro. That's across the water. And right now, the Alameda County Sheriff's Office, they're going to take leadership, and here's my issue with that. As a community member who helps youth centers come into fruition, and as a youth myself, I understand that there may be a disconnect between the people of color and law enforcement, and it needs to be bridged together. But we can't do that if we ain't got a voice. You know what I mean? We also have to survive. And I come from a community in Oakland where it's very hard to survive. So sometimes we may have to do what we have to do just on a survival basis. I got family who have to do that too. And it's really important that the elected officials give us opportunities so we don't have to feel like we have to do that. You know what I mean? My cousin Dejon Ford, he sat in prison for 4 years before I had the opportunity to dig into politics and get him out with a rap song that had to do with politics. Now, y'all can look that up all y'all want to, but I think the thing that matters is we need to connect the community with other entities that's supposed to protect us. Because if we can't, we're going to have to do some type of restorative justice that requires for us to do it. Community policing. How many of us want to do that? How many of us is brave enough to protect our own communities when it's time to? All right. Well, I would love to see that proven. And then in ways we can maybe work with law enforcement to make it happen to where there's community policing, restorative justice, and law enforcement at one time making an effort to help things move forward. But for right now, what I'm seeing is my people getting shot and forgot. You know what I mean? Justice for my man Saheem that got shot in West Oakland by bar police. My big bro Oscar Grant, who got shot at Fruitvale. You know what I mean? Stephon Clark, I didn't know him, but man, I feel scared. I feel like I'm next. I don't want to feel like that. Stop shooting at me. Why are you shooting at me? I'ma shoot back. Will that make you happy? I'm speeding through traffic. I'm feeling like they after me and I ain't do nothing, man, while they messing with me. Like it's due practice. 1950. Segregation ain't left, it just got pretty. We still got poverty in our inner cities. Then they say we gotta have responsibility. Am I the entity with no ability and all ability? At the same time, We hella smart, man. We can't get over slavery. Shit, man, we slaves now. Ain't nobody got no bravery. I'm paying ADT, but they not paying me. My tax money's supposed to be for my safety. I keep paying you, man. Why? Pay me. My man Oscar on the news like, what? Killed by police. And I'm like, what the? Police said, saw him too. Police said it was an accident. And the judge's verdict was a slap on the wrist. Involuntary manslaughter, man. My man Oscar had a daughter. We've been rallying for years and shit only got harder. But they did it for years. From Grandpa to Oscar to me and my peers. So can you blame me when I say fuck the police? Can you blame me when I say they foul and they ain't got nothing for me? Take it from my OG that got his ass beat. I think they out here to get us if you ask me. The hood will never forgive us if you ask me. But there gotta be some type of change. And it involves a united front. Let's balance our egos and let's work together. But as long as you go shoot me down and there's nothing to be said about it, then there's gonna be a divide. So we gotta make a decision for ourselves to be able to be uncomfortable when it's time to be uncomfortable. How many of us ready to be uncomfortable when it's time to be uncomfortable and have them hard conversations? Let's not shy away from the hard conversations. Let's have them and let's move forward. My name is Leo Mercer. I represent the Urban Peace Movement, Mercer Brotherhood, and Determination Black Movement, Determination Black Men's Group, and I am just in awe at what's going on right now. So let's make some things happen. Thank y'all so much. Pleasure.
My name's Dan Pfeiffer. I'm the co-host of Pod Save America. And I worked for President Obama for a long time. 5 years ago, I was with President Obama when he had to look the parents of the children that we would not change a single gun law in this country. In the years I worked for President Obama, I went around the country with him as he spoke at memorial services and met with victims of gun violence. From the mass shootings we see on the news and the thousands that happen every month that we never hear about. And when you see that, it's easy to believe that nothing will ever change. That we will always live in a society where it's easier to buy cold medicine than a gun. We will always live in a society that values someone else's right to bear arms more than it values your right not to get shot. But here's the thing. It doesn't have to be that way. That change can happen. And I have never been more hopeful that we can change the gun laws in this country than I am today. And it's not because of the politicians or Congress. It's because of you. It's because of people, thousands of people standing here today in San Francisco, and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people across this country who are marching and organizing and fighting for change. But the movement for change starts now, but we're not going to win this today. This is going to be a hard fight. The people on the other side, they're well-funded, they're well-organized, they have well-entrenched power. But this movement is different. Because it wasn't organized by a politician or a political organization or a bunch of professionals who came and ginned up a crowd. Like every other great movement for change, it was organized by young people. Students who aren't afraid, who are unburdened by caution, who aren't worried about losing an election, who are not waiting for someone to tell them it's their turn to make a difference. Students who will call BS on our politicians. And so as we keep marching and organizing and thinking, and the NRA gets tougher, and people in Congress try to resist what's happening, remember what Barack Obama always used to say: nothing can stand in the way of millions of voices calling for change. One of those voices that inspires me is Seelai Fong, who is this who is a 17-year-old from San Ramon Valley High School, who has accomplished more and been more impressive by the age of 17 than most people are in their lifetime. And it is students like Seelye who give me hope, not for the future, but for today. Please welcome Seelye to the stage.
Over the past few weeks, I've heard many of my classmates say that they are afraid of death. That they are afraid of being taken prematurely from this world at 15, 16, 17, at the hands of seemingly uncontrollable events, school shootings. I have heard my parents, my brother, and other adults in my life express their own fears. Like most other adults, when they hear about the tragedies in Parkland or in Great Mills, they fear the possibility of death for me. They fear the uncertainty of sending me to school, of never seeing me again, of never getting to see my wedding or my graduation or the births of my children. But I am not afraid of death. I am not afraid because now is not a time for fear. Now is the time to say that enough is enough. And at school, they foster our fears. My classmates and I have had more active shooter drills than we do earthquake drills. Because right now in the state of California, a school shooting seems more likely than an earthquake. They have us practice for the possible deaths of our classmates, for our own possible deaths. They tell us that both school shootings and earthquakes are unpredictable, uncontrollable, and that the best we could do is to take precautions. That there is no action that could possibly prevent either event. How much longer can we be lied to? How much longer can the politicians or anyone else say that a school shooting is akin to a natural disaster? The undeniable fact is that gun violence is unfortunately all around us. Last year there were a record-breaking number of mass shootings, and more it feels like we as Americans cannot separate ourselves from this issue. The growing frequency of shootings means fewer degrees of separation between ourselves and these tragedies. Now, some of you may see gun control as a red or a blue issue, and that might make you hesitant to support gun reform. But right now what separates us is not party lines. The issue is not a question of red or blue. This is a question of action or inaction. Now, inaction is thoughts and prayers. And if you're fine with just thoughts and prayers, then I want you to take a minute of silence for each of the Parkland victims. Then each of the Vegas victims and the Pulse victims. Do it until you can't stand the silence anymore. Do it until you realize that every minute you spend will not cover all the lives lost in school shootings, or gun suicides, or domestic violence, or gang involvements gone wrong. There is not enough time in a day, in a year, or even in a lifetime to honor each victim of gun violence with a moment of your time. And what does that moment do? Nothing. And isn't doing nothing the definition of inaction? Action is when you take these tragedies, the hurt and the pain, the confusion, the loss, and you say that enough is enough. Action is taking those feelings and using them as momentum to say that we've suffered. Call your congressman, show up to vote, demand change, mobilize support, educate yourself on this issue, and realize that in a state like this, your voice has power. We as a collective have a power to do something, to pass legislation more easily and faster than in almost any other state. Register to vote if you're 18, pre-register if you're 16 or 17. The changes you advocate for affect your communities. They can affect your state. And maybe, just maybe, if we don't allow ourselves to grow complacent and to forget what tragedy feels like, we can hold our federal government accountable for the safety of all of its citizens. And don't we owe it to ourselves, our children, and our future children to try? Thank you.
the first of our founding documents, the Declaration of Independence. The promise, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. My son, Christopher Ross Michaels Martinez, is dead. Shot and killed in Isla Vista, May 23rd, 2014. A student at UC Santa Barbara, 20 years old. Going to dinner on a Friday night in the college town that he loved. Shot and killed. Shot and killed in America. Shot and killed in a 21st century America that has come to accept death and fear as normal. Woo! Today I'm wearing an orange button and it says Survivor. Members of the Everytown Survivor Network wear this button. We are people who have survived being shot, and families and people who have had loved ones shot and killed. Tragically, some of our members have both been shot themselves and have had loved ones who were shot and killed. We, along with Moms Demand Action, are part of Everytown for Gun Safety. Today in America, if it's an average day, 96 Americans will die, shot and killed. Hundreds more will be shot and wounded. And what has Congress done? After 20 children and 6 educators were shot and killed in the Sandy Hook Elementary School, what did Congress do? Nothing! After Virginia Tech, 39 dead, what did Congress do? Nothing! After Pulse, Las Vegas, and so many others, what did Congress do? Nothing! Life, liberty, happiness? There's no life when you're struck by a bullet from an assault rifle, a war weapon designed for mass killing. There's no liberty when you're locked down, hiding in a closet, waiting for a shooter. There's no happiness when you're a child afraid of being shot and killed at school. To a generation of young Americans, our nation's promise, life, liberty, happiness is empty. Empty because many of our nation's politicians won't take their hands out of the gun lobby's deep pockets. Empty because too many politicians spout the gun lobby's narrative that the only solution to gun violence is more guns. Empty because doing nothing doesn't work. Too many politicians with lame excuses for doing nothing. Enough death, enough fear, enough. Now is the time. Today, we are Parkland. Now, I'm gonna do something different. I wasn't gonna do this, but I think we should. On the day in Parkland, when the police came in, they said to those kids, put both hands in the air. I'm gonna ask you to join me in putting both your hands in the air and say after me, we are Parkland.
We are Parkland.
Never again.
Never again.
We are Parkland.
We are Parkland.
Never again.
Never again.
We are Parkland.
We are Parkland.
Never again.
Never again.
Now, today is all across the country magnificent. But what about tomorrow? We need to take the energy of today and take it tomorrow and take it all the way to November of this year and show these politicians what we want in a country, what we want in the United States of America. If you want to know more about Everytown for Gun Safety and Moms Demand Action, if you text HONOR We're honoring the students at Parkland, those that survived and those that died. And so the message that we have today for contacting Everytown and Moms Demand Action, if you text HONOR to 64433, HONOR, HONOR, to 64433, you'll be connected with Everytown for gun safety. And for me, it's personal, and the other people that I work with, and we're not stopping. So thank you very much. I want to introduce you to my new friend, Willie Q from Wallenberg High.
Wow, that's a lot of people. I just wanted to take a moment of silence for Richard's lost son and everybody who has died from gun violence in the past decade, and everybody who has died from gun violence. So please take a moment of silence. Thank you. Well, I said I've never spoken to so many people before, so I guess I'll imagine all of you as heads of lettuce. Be a little bit less nervous than I actually am. Trevor Noah, the host of The Daily Show, said that if these kids are old enough to be shot, they are old enough to have an opinion about being shot. I am old enough to have this opinion, and this is what I have to say. We are not doing enough. We have gone through tragedy after tragedy, and nothing has happened. Nothing has changed. Time and time again, the National Rifle Association lining the pockets of Congress has impeded the change the people need. Not this time. This movement is how we demonstrate to those in power that we do not take their corruption lying down. But I'll be honest, our fight will not be over in a month or in the next month. With the Republicans in Congress and in the White House, our fight will not be over. But we can win. Like Richard said, we can win this year. We can win in November. Don't think that your voice doesn't make a difference just because you're in San Francisco or just because you're from California. The power lies with the people. The power lies with us. We have the ability to change things. A ban on assault weapons will not come tomorrow. This is not a short fight, but this is a fight that we must demand. We demand banning assault rifles. We demand strengthening background checks and reducing the availability of guns. We demand to know why a person that does not serve in the military or law enforcement is able to own a gun, a weapon that is designed for slaughter. We demand to know why we have to worry about our safety in a place where our learning is paramount. And I've asked a lot of you today, San Francisco, but I'm asking the most important thing of all right now. I'm asking you to remember Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, Columbine, Virginia Tech, and the countless deaths that came at the end of a gun barrel. I am asking you to stay at the front lines of this movement, no matter how long it takes to create change. We can't let these deaths be meaningless. We can't be numb to the deaths of children. Now this is a call, my call, to not just the people of San Francisco, but the people of America. Whether you defend the Second Amendment or advocate for gun control, the safety of our schools is an issue that transcends political boundaries. Today, I saw a sign in the front of a crowd. It's actually right there in the front. I didn't tell you before, but I'm going to use it in a speech. You can put a silencer on a gun, but not on us. Demand change in the system. Demand your safety. Never back down, never give up, never forget, and never again. Thank you.
Wow, San Francisco. Now for some thank yous. Without the following people, this event could not have happened. Dr. Reverend Amos Brown, Pastor Elizabeth Eckdale, Rabbi Beth Singer, Dr. Ellen Clark King, Hala Hijazi, Michael Pappas, and the organizations and companies that supported this event: Glide Memorial Church, Pullman Advocates, Youth Speaks, Mobilizing MSD Alumni, Every Town for Gun Safety, Moms Demand Action California, Sandy Hook Promise, the Givers Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence, SF City, Smart Tech Challenges Foundation for Gun Safety, Salesforce, Catherine Stephanie, AMR Ambulance Company, the League of Women Voters. They're out here today. Beyond Differences, Paula LeDuc Fine Catering, the SFAR Foundation, Lyft, Mary Condi and Another Planet Entertainment, Mr. Ron Conway, the San Francisco Unified School District, and the United Educators of San Francisco, the Michael Mina Group, and of course the Women's March out here today keeping us safe. And our amazing team of volunteers that put all of this together. There are too many to mention. I love you all, thank you. And all of the students who are leading this effort here and around the country, thank you.
On February 14th, when I heard the news what happened with Parkland, like you, I was horrified. But when I woke up on the 15th and I saw children on TV that were grieving, that were coping with incredible tragedy, instead of spending their time with counselors, instead of spending their time with loved ones, they were being interviewed by Wolf Blitzer. And I felt ashamed. I'm an adult. I grew up, I was in high school when Columbine happened. I knew about Sandy Hook. And here we were, I got involved, I registered, I voted. And here we were, it was happening again, and the children were saying enough was enough. When those kids decided that they were going to have a march on Washington, we knew that there would be other events around the United States. And when I went to invite my friend to the event in San Francisco, none had been set up. So I created one on Facebook, and 37,000 people said they would come. And tens of thousands of you are here today. And this is my wife, Shoshana. We are just regular people. We are not activists. Well, I mean, we are now. But we're just regular people that wanted to help make change on this issue. And Shoshana has done an incredible work in pulling together all of these volunteers. There's so many people, so many companies. And thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. One of the students at Parkland had an amazing quote. He said that leaders don't create followers. They create more leaders.
Yes!
And what I want to encourage all of you to do is to lead. You're already here. You've already heard that you need to register, you need to vote, you need to call your legislators, that you need to demand common sense gun reform. But the other thing that you need to do is you need to build on what you've already done today. You need to talk to your friends and family members that don't agree with you and change their minds. You need to raise money. You need to create an organization that will beat the NRA. Thank you.
This is just one more reminder. After this, we will be heading out on a march that direction, and please, please, please help us. Just pick up your trash on the way out. We so appreciate it. And now I have the pleasure of introducing, not yet, Jennifer Seibel Newsom. She's a filmmaker, CEO, advocate, and a thought leader. She has done amazing work with the Representation Project, a nonprofit that uses film and media as a catalyst for cultural transformation. She lives here in San Francisco with her husband, California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, and their 4 young children. Jennifer.
Hello, San Francisco! My name is Jennifer Seibel Newsom, and I'm so honored to be here today. It is beyond inspiring to see all of you stepping up and making noise and demanding a better world for all of us. And I'm here today with family and friends to remind us of what this is really about. It goes without saying that every child deserves to be safe in school. That we haven't protected every single one of our students is a horrific moral failing on behalf of every adult in America. Haven't we all had enough? I have had enough. We've all had enough. But now, thanks to all of the young people rising up, it seems finally possible that we can end the influence of the NRA once and for all and enact common sense gun legislation. Because our laws should never be available for purchase. Here in California, my husband Gavin Newsom led the charge, and we said enough and passed Proposition 63, some of the strictest gun laws in the nation. Now in California, background checks are not just for the gun itself, but for ammunition as well. Now in California, we actually have a plan to reclaim guns from those who have been convicted of crimes. And now in California, you are prohibited from possessing large capacity magazines. But we must continue to demand more. And that means looking beyond our laws and taking a hard look in the mirror. One thing nobody ever asks after a mass shooting is if the shooter was a man or a woman. 98% of mass shooters are men. So it's high time that we address the public health crisis of toxic masculinity in this culture. Donald Trump, are you listening? GOP administration, are you listening? It is high time that we raise all of our boys and men to understand that power does not come from aggression, dominance, and control over other human beings, but that true strength and power comes from empathy, compassion, and relationships with other human beings. We must elevate all of those things that we have feminized and devalued in this culture. But ultimately, truly transforming our country requires transforming our leadership. And I don't just mean electing more women into leadership, although that certainly would help. This requires our current leaders, especially male leaders, who hold so much of our nation's power, to use their influence and platform to stand up for what is right for this nation, not just what serves their campaign's bank account. And it's about the rest of us using our power as citizens like we are today, unearthing our individual and collective voices to stand tall for justice and safety for everyone. The students in Parkland, Florida know this. The students standing right here with us all today understand this. And And the next student speaker that I have the pleasure of introducing understands this. So let me introduce you to a brave and courageous young person who inspires me and who will be an inspiration for my children and your children. Maya Tersini is 17 years old and a senior at Westmont High School. She is an incredible spoken word poet who uses her art to inspire, to lead, and to include others. Through her poetry, she creates a voice for the marginalized and a space for people to be heard who might otherwise not be heard. Maya is what a leader looks like. She is what the future of this country looks like. So please join me in welcoming Maya.
Hey guys, thank you for being here today. Really quickly, I want you guys to turn around and look at that building back there, past the statue. It says truth. That is what I'm here to share with you guys today. Our legislators, the President of the United States and the NRA, never let us forget that this country is as free as they allow it to be. Today that changes, because we the people, a conglomerate of cultures, ages, and backgrounds, demand it. Look around at the individuals beside you. We each wake up in the morning with a different day ahead of us, a different routine and sense of normalcy. But regardless of what job we have, how much money we make, or what neighborhood we live in, the issue of ineffective gun legislation has persisted for so long that it now impacts